Hey everybody, on this episode of iTalk Movies, we're getting up close and personal with Eileen Davidson and Vince Van Patten. Let's do this.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's iTalk Movies.
Hey everybody, welcome to iTalk Movies, the show that takes you behind the camera and talks to the people both in front and behind the camera that bring you all that great entertainment you get to see in theaters, at home, or on your mobile streaming device. I'm your host, Frank Moran. My guests today are a couple who decided to go all in on their latest film. One is Emmy award-winning actor as well as soap opera royalty. The other is an actor, a writer, a tennis star, a poker commentator. Their latest project is 7 Days to Vegas, which comes out in theaters on September 20th and is available on video on demand and streaming on September 24th. Please welcome Eileen Davidson and Vince Van Patten.
Hey!
Oh, thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having
Thanks,
us.
Yes.
Frank. Yeah, this is great.
Now, what I like here is just before we started, a little inside baseball, is that I like that you're a married couple, but still discovering new things about each other. Because just before we're ready to
Isn't
go,
that fun?
Eileen says, "Hey, where did you get these pants?" So it's great to see there's always mysteries.
I know, it's so
Yes.
lovely, isn't it?
Tell
I
the
know.
story, though. Because you like these pants.
I
that I'm
like
happy to
those
wear.
pants. I was wondering why you're wearing them when nobody can see them. And he only wears the nice pants when nobody sees them. And he wears these horrible jeans that he's had forever. He had patches put on the knees.
I did.
I was like, little Abner, you don't do that? Are you kidding me? And he wore them to a big screening in Chicago. Horrible jeans with a dumpy butt.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, you know what? I like the jeans because they were a little baggier. This new thing about they're so
Little.
tight, I can't take it. So I finally got these things to the place where I wanted them. The jeans were just perfect. And then, of course, the holes came. The big
Yes.
holes. I didn't know what to do. And you didn't help me.
Oh, sorry, I don't believe in patches on the knees.
I went to the tailor and she actually said, "Oh, I can fix this. I can fix it." I go, "What?" So I got 2 patches on it, and they do look horrible.
We're a fascinating
But I'm comfortable.
couple. We're a fascinating people.
Comfortable.
Now, for the premiere that you wore those, were you there at that premiere?
Yes.
So he comes like, "I'm ready to go."
I was like, no.
Yeah.
No, seriously, this just happened 2 nights ago. I was like, you can't wear those. I mean, it's a big screening in Chicago. Richard Roper, the huge movie critic, loves the movie. He had this huge screening in Chicago for us. 200 people. And he's wearing these dumpy pants.
But I had a nice shirt and a blazer, right? Wasn't that bad? I don't
But you
think.
felt
You're being
comfortable
shot
the whole
from the
night.
waist up.
I felt comfortable.
That's right. That's the most important thing.
All right.
It's
Anyway,
okay, honey.
thanks for having us here. This
absolutely.
Is great.
So, of course, your father, Dick Van Patten, Hollywood legend, and notice one of the nicest guys around.
Yep.
And I was reading a story about where somebody tried to pull a practical joke with him on set and said, "Oh, hey, some guy's going to beat me up if I don't pay them the money they owe." And he opened up his wallet right there and said, "How much do you need?"
Yeah, I think he was in on it though.
Oh, was-
I hate to crush you.
No, really?
That was Dick Yarmy in that thing, but I know my father, he took a little credit for that, but I think he was in on it. I'm not 100% sure. But now that I've ruined him, go on.
There you go. But what I kind of liked about it is, in terms of Dick loved to gamble, loved to play poker, loved to bet on their horses. But there was also that niceness that came in there as well. And what I thought was interesting about 7 Days to Vegas is that there's that. If you think about gambling, you're always thinking more. We're going to think about the degenerate side, and people are breaking limbs, and they're oh my gosh, I'm going to die. But there's room for kindness within that as well too.
Well, that's very true. Did the movie 7 Days to Vegas. It's inspired by my true poker game that I had going in the 90s and 2000s. And the game got bigger and bigger and fun. It was fun. But it wasn't about the poker. And this movie, 7 Days to Vegas, is not about the poker at all. It's about these crazy guys. The guys, they were fun to hang around with. We would make bets on anything and everything. And one of the craziest bets I ever really made was that I could walk from LA to Las Vegas in 7 days, 280 miles. They all bet against me, followed me in this black RV, and that's what this movie's about. It's kind of like The Hangover meets The Sting, and it was a lot of fun. But listen, the thing is, I know the genre of films and poker and gambling. I love that kind of genre. And I've always watched them, and there's some of them are pretty good. But I always said, if I ever do write something, I want to show how I've enjoyed my life. I've enjoyed the gambling. I've enjoyed the action, the ups and downs, the crazy things, the personalities, and that's what's in this film.
Now, you live this, of course, and you go through this like, oh, it's just a story that I have in my back pocket that I can share with people. And Eileen, it was you that said, you know what? this is a crazy story. You should
He
do
was
something with
telling me
this.
these stories every morning after, he'd be getting home from these poker games and telling me these crazy things that had happened with these amazing people. A lot of them were celebrities, and just the prop bets, the crazy things that went on. And we had been out rollerblading for our anniversary in Venice doing shots of tequila, which we did a few times. And we're at a bar with our rollerblades on, and we're talking about a movie that had just come out that was based on a true story in Hollywood, and it wasn't that good. And I was saying, I think you should make a movie about your poker game and the life that you've had with all this. And he didn't want to do it at first because he knows what it takes to make an independent film. It's hell. And he lets me know that all the time. He goes, you're either the hero or the bum. So, he ended up doing it. It's a huge accomplishment. I mean, I cried the first time I read his script because it was so good. It was so good.
Vince, with you, because some people will talk themselves out of a great idea. They're like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea, but they'll come up with a million reasons why it shouldn't work, and they'll talk themselves out of it. Is that like you, or is just like, no, I just needed to take a second and realize, yes, I could do it?
Well, I brought in, first of all, a lot of it's fictionalized. The real characters are all a conglomeration of people I know and crazy people. So it's some fiction there, of course. I brought in a buddy of mine, Steve Alper. He's a co-writer, and we sat there for 2 years, and you think of different ideas and the things I did experience, and then you make up some other things. So, but I love the writing process. I do love it. And I sat in there, and we work 8 hours a day. It seems like an hour and a half.
Happy when he was writing.
And I love to perfect these things and say, I want to make this a great movie. I don't want to just settle for an obvious cliche. Let's make this interesting. And things came along and clicked, and we finally got it where it was.
When you're adapting your life into a film, and you're taking these colorful characters that you've had a chance to play poker with throughout the years, and you're trying to take bits and pieces, what's the process for you when you're kind of taking 4 or 5 different people and you're kind of combining them all into one person?
Yeah, I believe I love to write about people that I find very charismatic and off the wall. I remember their impersonation. I do try to do impersonations of them and feel them, and that's the kind of character. Each character in 7 Days to Vegas is very different and unique and special and off the wall, bigger than life.
Well, you
and that's
played
what I
with a
wanted
magician,
to do.
right?
Well, that was one of the guys that was actually in the game back in the day.
Can you imagine playing poker with a magician?
He was a struggling magician, great guy, and he'd come to the game, but he would come right from the Magic Castle. So he'd have a top hat, and his magic outfit, and he would sit down. And people said, "What are you, crazy? He could deal seconds. He's a magician. He could do anything with the cards." Well, he never won, okay? So he wasn't that good of a magician. He definitely wasn't cheating, so we always had him in the game. He was just one of the many very colorful characters that we have in the film.
I have to imagine going back and starting writing this and pulling on those people that you know from the past had to be a nice trip down memory lane, just to kind of reminisce and think about these people that you may not have a chance to see on a regular basis now. Yeah,
for sure. Like I said, a lot of them are fictitious and people that I knew in a different area of my life and Steve's life. And we go, wouldn't this character be interesting if we did it with this, put him in the film? That's how it kind of works for me.
Now, I got to imagine, Eileen, the audition process for this role was intense.
So she gets me to make the movie. And of course, you said, she didn't even say, I want to play the part. She's so great and so humble. She goes, the first thing she said is, look, if you can get a bigger star, just do it. Just make a great movie.
I mean, I have to say, it sounds incredible, doesn't it? I would never have said that 10 years ago. Really, I've grown. I've grown a lot. And I really meant that. I wanted him to succeed. I want this to be a huge hit. But I'm so happy that I'm actually in it. And I have to say this. I think this is a kind of a funny thing. I'm actually playing his ex-wife and me, because I'm like a conglomeration, because in the 90s he was with Betsy Russell, and he was for part of that, and then me in the 2000s. So I'm kind of playing his ex-wife and me. Isn't that weird?
That is.
I know.
But the fun thing about her part, she plays my wife, is that I didn't want to do the thing where it's the wife that's always complaining. Oh, you're gambling, da-da-da-da-da, and it's a boring scenes, 2 talking heads and fighting. So we have a completely different thing, which is based on the reality.
On our relationship.
That she really, I found out along the way that she loves gambling just as much as I do.
All right, when did you first find out that you were a big gambler, or you enjoy gambling?
He taught me how to play poker when we were in Cabo, when we were first getting together. Right. And it was before the World Poker Tour. They showed the hand. That changed poker forever for the world. And I was like, this is like the best kept secret. This is an amazing game. I mean, I didn't know anything about poker, but it was so much fun because it takes smarts, it takes luck, it takes acting. It's exciting.
But then I'm sitting down at a football game on the NFL, watching NFL, and I'm watching the game intensely. She goes, wow, you seem like, you're really rooting for that team. She goes, what's going on? I went, oh, well, you have to know, I made a pretty big bet on it. She goes, what? She goes, you bet big on NFL? I'm going, oh, no. She goes, I want in.
Right. Well,
And from that day on,
I have to say, it started though when you were betting against the Lakers, and I've been born and bred in California. I'm a big Laker fan. Come on, and I was going, you can't bet against the Lakers. You can't do that. He was like, the Lakers don't pay my bills, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. And all of a sudden, it ruined sports for me forever because I have to have action on a game now.
so now that it is fun.
Do you bet
the
against the
truth.
Lakers?
We can't. We have to
They don't pay
sometimes.
our bills.
Oh, Eileen!
Not always. Just once in a while. Oh no, I'm gonna get rocks thrown at me when I drive out of here.
That's right. LeBron's going to be so sad now.
You know, sometimes you got to bet the other way. I mean, you just you can't get sentimental or emotional if you want to win. You know.
You
Now,
know?
by the way, we don't win.
You can't
We
get
don't
sentimental.
Win. At the end of the year, we go to the bookie. You have to pay him off. You know, whipping it out, and you would think she'd be aggravated by it, but she's such a great wife. She just goes, "Okay, here's my half." She whips it out.
I don't
We-
know
we
why.
pay the
I sound
bookie.
really enlightened. I'm not that enlightened.
You're pretty good.
Okay,
You're
thanks.
pretty good.
I'm gonna throw that up to you later.
So, I mean, we've got poker, we've got sports betting, and we've got prop bets. So, do you get involved in the prop bets?
You
Eileen?
know, we've said things a lot in the past, like I'll give you $500 if you jump in that fountain. We've done that a lot, different kind of things. Have we done prop bets?
No, but we proposed it, but you haven't quite done it. But
I tried to jump off the cabana, but it was dangerous.
that's true. That's true. I don't want
Really,
you
I
to go
thought
hurt
I was going to
yourself.
die. I was on top of the cabana, and all of a sudden the cabana starts to give way, and I'm like, he's like, maybe we shouldn't do this. That was nice of him. He had to consider it a little bit too long, though.
That's right. Yeah. There's a little bit of a pause there.
Yeah,
It
there was a
too
big
long.
pause, actually. How much money do I have on this?
But Frank, over the years, the prop bets that I did, you know,
He's insane.
I'd be on the paddle
Tell
tennis
about the
court.
the Bobby Riggs one.
On the paddle, yeah, I will. I was on the paddle tennis court. I used to make a bet. I'd play in rollerblades and a frying pan, and I'd play the opponent for a few $100, and sometimes I would win, sometimes I would lose, and then of course I had a bet that I could jump over a 10-foot chain link fence within 5 seconds. They'd bet against me. Sometimes I'd win, sometimes I'd lose.
These are all getting more interesting as he gets older, too, by the way.
Yeah, now I get.
I don't know. Is that the curve you want to be on? I don't know.
That's why the prop bets are really over. But no, it's been crazy over the. I have a funny story about the poker game that's actually a true story. And we used to play with a dentist, and he was a great dentist, and
right. I
he
love
owed
that
me
story.
some money. He went broke in this game, and he owed me some money. And he said, "Do you mind if I pay you, in a few weeks?" I said, "No problem. Pay me when you want." 6 months goes by. He comes to me, "I feel very bad. I know I owe you a couple grand." He goes, "Look," he goes, "do you mind if I do this? Can I look at your teeth?" I went, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I see that you could use some work, Vince."
they were bad.
He goes, "Why don't we call it even?" He goes, "I can give you a little work there. Do you mind?" I said, "Okay." So the next thing you know, I got some veneers for free.
You got paid in teeth.
I won my teeth in a
Smile,
poker
honey,
game.
smile.
Yes,
It's a true story.
Is that crazy?
that is. But hey, I mean, it was great because would you have taken the time to actually go and done that yourself?
No.
No.
So he helped me a little bit with my
Yeah.
teeth.
If you'd lost more, you would have gotten your lower teeth done.
I just don't show that side. But you know what? The Bobby Riggs story is fun. Yeah. You remember Bobby Riggs, the great hustler, court hustler, tennis player, and
Billie Jean King.
And he used to. He lost to Billie Jean. He beat Margaret Court back in the day, and he would make crazy bets. And I would bet him golf 20 years ago at La Costa, and I only played him because he wasn't a hustler. He wasn't a gambler. He was a hustler. He was basically a cheat. He basically just wanted to
break
beat
it
you.
down.
Great guy, fun guy. But he basically just would, he said he was a 10 handicap when he was a 2 at age 68. He was tough. I was like a 10 handicap, and so I'd wound up having, he goes, "Oh,
Tell
young
him how
guy
old you
like
were.
you," he goes,
You're young.
"You got to give me, 4 and 4 strokes, That's a lot of strokes. But because it's Bobby Riggs and you're excited to play with him, who's my idol, you would do it. And I know I'd throw him a few hundred, maybe 500 and lose 1,000. Didn't matter. Anyway, one day I lose a couple thousand to Bobby, and we're all going back to the hotel to play the next day. And the thing about Bobby was when he would win, he would stick the needle in you, and he would pretend like you just almost won. He'd be, "Oh, kid, I'm sorry you lost all your money to me today, but God, if you would have just made that 3-foot putt, gosh, you would have had it all, wouldn't you?" "Yeah, Bobby, yeah." So finally we get back to the hotel, and I go, "Bobby, it's a big hotel." He goes, "Oh, yeah, it is." I go, "Bobby, what do you think if a person could run around the hotel in, how many seconds would that take?" And he goes, "Oh, a young guy, you trying to do?" I said, No. What would it take? And he goes, "Oh, a young guy like you, it has to be a minute, right?" So I go, "Okay, double or nothing. Here we go." Boom, I take off. He goes, "Okay." I take off, I make it in 58 seconds.
Wow.
He turns green, doesn't know. I got all my money back, Little did he know that in the morning, early morning, I'd time myself. And I knew I could make it exactly in 58 seconds. That's a true story. I out-hustled Bobby that time.
So you just keep that in your back pocket in case you need it. At the end of the day, it's like, all right,
yeah, you have to.
So, I mean, you learned, I guess, get introduced into the world of gambling, poker, from your dad.
Yeah, he taught me how to read the racing form and play poker at age 8. He thought if you could, you might as well learn it. He goes, look, you have the bug. He goes, you might as well learn how to be pretty good. And he taught me to be pretty good and then to enjoy it.
Now, I had read that there would be times where if you were playing while you're still had to go to school, he'd say, hold on, don't worry about going to class. You got to play another hand.
And he played 3 times a week in our apartment in Sherman Oaks with about 7 or 8 guys, and he would go to 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd be watching from the hallway at age 14, 12. And finally, when I'm about 15 years old, he goes, all right, Vinny, he goes, you've seen enough. You're a good player. He goes, do you want to join the game? I said, yeah, I'd love to. He goes, you made some money as a kid actor. So I put up my own money, and the game was pretty big back then. You could win or lose $1,000, $1,500. Richard Dreyfuss was in the game. Don Adams, Get Smart. Sorry about that, Gabe Kaplan, all these famous guys. And me, I was 15 years old, you know. Anyways, I did pretty well. I was winning. And one night I was playing, and I won all the money at the table. And it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and finally, you know how they say, yeah, let's play another round. Finally, I just said, guys, I got to go. And they go, what are you talking about? You're not going anywhere. I go, but I got to go to school. And they all look at each other like, holy mackerel, what are we doing? You know? So I had great experiences as a gambler. My father taught me that. There's been ups and downs, and if you get carried away with it, it's not good.
You know what's different about him?
It's just a spice of life.
The thing here, you say I'm so easygoing about this, but the reason is I feel safe. If I thought he was like some crazy, out-of-control gambler, I would not be this cool about it. Are you kidding me? We have a house, we got kids. No, it's just that it's like a job, and he's super smart, and it's not an addiction, and you have to say that. It's not. So it's a different kind of thing. He's just really smart about it.
Well, that's true. A friend of mine plays at the Congress. Yes. Where he just sets that's his job. He wants to go and plays poker professionally. And he sets a certain time of day, a certain amount of money that he goes each day and does that.
Well, I wish that was the truth. But I got my poker. I'm pretty good in poker, but then I have other leaks where you go and you're losing football, you're losing the prop bets. But overall, I do okay. And by the way, I learned a long time ago, you don't ever tell your wife how much you won or lost.
Okay, really? Okay.
So she thinks I'm doing maybe a little bit better. At the end of the day, I learned.
It's coming together now. Things are making sense.
How did you do? And you say, I broke about even. That's the standard line. If you say that enough, you started believing
we got problems.
That's right. Is it gambling is just gambling, or does doing the prop bets, playing poker, doing sports bet, do they itch a different, scratch a different itch, or is it all just the same?
It's just, for me, it's just action. I go to Venice Beach and I play with my buddies down there, and we play paddle tennis for spotting them this and that. We're pitching coins up to the quarters, but you're playing for 100. You're pitching coins. You have all kinds of stupid prop bets.
I didn't know they still did that.
That's the game they just throw
quarters.
Yeah,
just like,
wall.
the Bronx and Brooklyn back in the 30s.
But you're not playing for a quarter. You're playing for big stakes.
Yes, but they're still pitching quarters.
Yeah, you do some of
hilarious.
that.
All right. You got to come sometime.
Yeah, I'm going to hang out in Venice, and I got to worry my quarter game, for sure.
I kind of ruined myself because I loved golf, but then once I started betting on golf, I can't play golf anymore without a bet, and that's sad.
It does ruin sports forever.
What about miniature golf? Can you take the kids to mini golf?
No.
No?
Get me away from there. No. We did that, of course. But no, you always, if you're with your buddies and you all like to gamble, you want to put something on the line.
Yeah. All right, so...
Well, I have to say one thing where I just realized this is what's gotten under my skin, and I'm realizing where it comes from. Whenever we're driving home, with just me and my son, Jesse, since he was really little, I'd go, okay, how long, what do you think the temperature is going to be like when we get over Canaan? So I'll go, are you going under or you're going over? I do that automatically now because of you. Wow. I don't know where that came from.
I'm sorry.
I go, okay, he'll go 65, and I'll say 67, and then we'll wait till we get home, and then I won! I'm like, where does it come from? That's weird. It's you. That's where it comes from.
I guess so, but the thing is, a person either has that sort of feel or doesn't. I've taught my other 2 kids how to gamble, how to play poker, but they don't really have any great interest. So that's good. You either sort of do it or you don't.
But Fitz, I can imagine for you walk through life looking at everything around you as a potential prop bet.
I think it's a spice of life, and that's true. if I play tennis or whatever I like to do, I just like to have a little something on it. It makes it a little more interesting.
And even when you don't feel like betting, which happens, I do. I'm like pulling him in. He goes, "Oh, I'm going to lay low today." No, you can't lay low today.
No, I want to. We're doing this.
You're not laying low today. That's a nice thought, but no, we're not laying low.
You know, it's interesting. Now, for the last 10 years, I haven't been playing as much poker and not betting the NFL. I don't know what to do with myself.
So you made a movie.
I made a movie. I'm concentrating. This is my bet now. 7 Days to Vegas. It's coming out September 20th, and you can pre-buy it now on iTunes. Here's a nice little plug. But it's great, and Eileen's fantastic in it. And
I had a really big part, but he had to cut me out.
What?
It happens. You got to make the movies. You know, it had to be a little shorter.
I cut some of the scenes. We had to, tighten it.
I'm still in it, but
I
mean, I had a very large part, but you have to cut when you have to cut out certain things to keep it moving, and it's a better movie now because of that, not because of me per se, but because of the time.
But we have a great cast with Ross McCall and
Willie Garson and John O'Hurley and Chad Lowe.
Jimmy Van Patten, my brother.
He's fantastic in the movie.
A friend of mine I used to do improv with, James Kyson.
Yeah.
Yes, I used to do improv with
Oh
him.
my God, he's
great.
hilarious.
Yes.
He's hilarious in the movie.
Danny Pardo, Don Stark.
Don Stark.
And we have Antonio Spondiari and Phil Hellmuth and Mike Sexton.
Jennifer Tilly has a little
cameo. So it's fun. It's just a lot of poker players. But like I said, it's a movie about characters and crazy bets. And the craziest of all is, can he walk to Vegas in 7 days? You know?
So when you're casting this film, how much of it is you taking auditions, or how much of reaching out to the people that you are friends with and say, I think you'd be great for this. You want to come in and do this with me?
Well, as you know, you try to get some name value. And so a few people just, can you do it? Oh, yes, great. Come on in. And then you cast, I would say 50-50, right, Eileen? That's
Something
about it.
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And Chad Lowe was great as the police
great?
officer. Yes.
Yeah.
That's when was really nice.
Everybody kind of shines, I have to say. Everybody has like a little moment to shine.
Yep.
It's fun.
So you put this film together. You write it there with your co-writer. It gets ready to go 10 days out from camera starting to roll. The director drops out.
That's true. We had a different director, and he had to do a series or something like that, so he dropped out. So we found the new director, saw his reel, and Eric Balfour, and he did a terrific job. So we grabbed him. But you just never know what you're going to get. And he did a great job.
So for you, because as Eileen was saying, it's like, oh, when I was saying you should do this as a story, he's like, no, you know how hard it is to do an indie film. 10 days out, the director drops out. Are you thinking like, oh, what have I gotten myself into? Why am I doing this again?
Well, the crazy thing is you can't stop the train at that point. And you either
gotta
lose
just
your
hope
money.
for the best.
Right. You lose your money or you grab someone.
He went in after the film was complete and really edited it. And he edited it to make it his vision, too, which was really great. He made the movie with a needle and thread, basically. It's his life, and he really did it justice. He did it was really well done.
My brother,
hard work.
My brother.
Yeah,
it's
you
nice
and
to work
Jimmy.
with your brother. Jimmy Van Patten's a great actor and a producer, and we get to yell at each other. Oh, you're right. And we finally come up with our good decisions. So it's been fun.
Is he as much into gambling as you?
No, not as bad.
Really?
No, he's okay.
And
He's
Jimmy
okay.
doesn't like to really do all
No,
the
he's
sports
a good
that
poker
you-
player. He's a good poker
Right, he
player.
plays poker.
And he plays sports, but he doesn't bet on anything else but poker. It's pretty good, yeah.
So I want to get back to the actual bet that led you to walk 7 days to Vegas.
Yeah.
So you make this bet, and it's all sitting down, and we see a little bit of this in the film, where you're all figuring out like how many days, how much can you walk at night, how much as opposed to during the day, how many breaks can you get a day. What was it like doing the initial negotiations for that?
Well, it's in the movie about the negotiation, and that's always with prop bets. It's always about the negotiation. It's like when you're on that first tee in golf. It's the guy that you win the round before you hit the ball. The guy that makes the best prop and negotiation is the winner. So we have a great scene in this film about how we do that. And of course, every prop bet that I'll do, whether you can get a hop over the fence in 5 seconds, it's going to be 6 seconds. That's a negotiation. And it always is bickering back and forth. That's the fun part. Mike Sexton, my buddy from the World Poker Tour, we've been doing the show for such a long time, 18 years. But he's the greatest negotiator of all time. And it's not just because he always gets the best of it. It's because you think you're getting the best of it. And he will out-negotiate you in his southern drawl and charm. And those guys are the best. I'm not the best negotiator when it comes to prop bets. I'll always give myself a little bit the worst of it. So it's interesting to see who can and who can't.
It's like a really crazy subculture, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, it's so interesting.
Now, for negotiating, is it that the secret to that is have a few things that you're willing to lose? Like, I'm willing to concede this, but make it seem like, oh man, you're really taking it from me to give these things up that I'm already willing to just
So
give to
true.
you.
So true. Bobby Riggs was the best at that. He would just, oh, you're crazy. I'll see you tomorrow. He'd start walking off the course, until he said, oh, okay, Bobby, I'll give you 10 strokes, It was that type of thing. I had a bet. I used to throw the basketball from half court and for good money. And I'd say, okay, how many shots can I get? And to make one. And at first it started at 10 throws from half court. Not easy to do, right? And I would make it. I would win that bet. And then all the guys would say, okay, you're too good. Down to 8. Okay, did it at 8, won that. Anyway, by the last year, I was down to 4 throws from half court. One on. And I started finally losing huge money by 4. I needed 5 or 6 for sure. They got me down to 4. They got all their money back.
For the the real walk, you're figuring out that how many miles you need to make per day.
Yeah.
How far is this? So
280
you're,
miles.
Of course, you can imagine in this film, without any spoilers, though, that is an enormous task for anybody to take on during that time. And the body can go through. You've got to worry about climate. You've got to worry about just like the body, how you're feeling that particular day. For you, when you do the initial walk, just how hard was that on you physically?
It's to do 280 miles in 7 days is almost impossible. I was in very good shape when I made this bet 15 years ago. So it's a different ball game. But without giving anything away, it's a lot of great runners certainly going to do it. If you're in your 30s, you're certainly going to do it. But if you're in your 40s, come on. It's very, very tough. And that's why there's a bet being made. Simple as that.
Was it as strict, what we see in the film in terms of the concessions and everything, was it as strict for what your real life one was?
A lot of things are fictionalized in the film. It's a movie. So we exaggerate, we make up things. So it's all there. It is made for pure entertainment and fun.
So, Eileen, what is your reaction when you find out you were with a man that decided to do, on a bet, walking 7 days to Vegas?
Well, listen, I'm kind of used to his insanity as it is, Are you kidding me? I learned very quickly. You're in that.
Yeah.
Well, Vince, I will ask you, what is the secret to a great prop bet? What do you need in there that makes it really good?
Well, you got to know what you have to be a handicapper. You got to, whether I'm betting Federer versus Nadal on clay, I got to say to myself, okay, on clay, Nadal last year or this year should be a 4-1, 5-1 favorite in my mind, right? So then you're thinking to yourself, okay, that's my line if I was going to make it. Now you say to the person like Mike Sexton, your sucker walks in, and you go, Mike, would you like to bet that bet? And he'll go, okay, fine, and he'll go, all right. Now he figures out in his mind what the bet is. I said, Mike, will you take Federer at 3-1? And he goes, give me 7-2, 3.5-1, and I'll take it. Now you know you've beaten that line. I've beaten it by about 25%. That's when you grab it. So in my mind, to be a good handicapper and prop better, I have to have in my mind what I can do. By the way, I usually just like to bet on myself because I know what I can do. I know my limitations. I may not make it, but you like to bet on yourself. And another thing is, never bet against the guy that's proposing the bet because 95% of the time he will win. He'll know that he can win. So usually that's the way not to go unless you can really twist him the other way.
So if I were to say, Vince, after this, let's go out right now and see who could make a basket from the last table that we walked in.
He just did it
all the
2
way
weeks
to there.
ago.
Yeah.
Yes. So you already have some background. But if I said to make this prop bet, what would be the steps we go through? All right, who can
By
make
the way,
5
he just
baskets?
won that bet 2 weeks ago.
You just
I
won
would
it.
bet
He's
you.
a freak of nature.
No, I'm not that good at all. But
Yes, you
I
are.
would say,
It's
like, let's
crazy.
take a deck of cards and I'd put a hat
Okay.
10 feet away. And I'd say, Frank, I don't know you, but from looking at you and, you don't even have to touch the cards. I bet you can't flick 8 cards into that hat from 10 feet away out of 52. And you might go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I'll take that for $100. And you may win, you may lose. I don't know. I'm just handicapping on you, the way you look, the way you can do it. I might say, Frank, I see the block. I'm going to bet you $100 that you can run around the block in. And you look at it and you handicap and say, well, maybe it's 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's how it works. You just handicap
Do you ever
it
look
constantly.
and think about if maybe somebody's bluffing you?
Yes, and if he goes too quickly, okay, I'll take that. I'll go, wait, well, but did I say 120? I meant 130.
So there's always time to back out or renegotiate until what's the final?
Great question. Yeah.
When does it become absolutely
When
locked in?
someone says, hey, I'll give you this, and he goes, you're on. First of all, you got to get the price. So he goes, I'll give you this. You're on. For what amount? It could be $10. It could be $1,000. So when Mike Sexton used to say to me, we used to make bets all the time, all kinds of preppers. When he said, Vince, I'll bet you 1,000 you can't do this. I said, you're on. That bet was on, and neither player can get out of it. But
It's been fun.
I'm sure. Yes.
It has been fun.
So is it kind of a daily life, or kind of a common where Vince will come back and say, "Oh, you wouldn't believe this crazy thing," or is that more days gone by and it's not as crazy as it used to be?
It's not as crazy, but he's still down in Venice, and there's still bets going on at the paddle court, and things are still going on down there all the time. I mean, he's not playing poker as much as he used to, so you don't hear those stories all the time. But
people
it's
have wised
still part
up.
of our life.
People have wised up too. I mean, there's not
They know you too
people
well.
it's tough to get the right bet. They got to come to me now. They say, "Hey, Vinny, would you bet so-and-so and spot him 4 games?" I'll say, "Okay, maybe. I'll take the worst of it maybe and play some guy paddle and give him 4 or 5 games."
There's always
that type
sports
of thing.
betting, though.
That's right.
That's true. That is true. I guess like with Billy Riggs, it's just the opportunity to play against somebody, even if you win or lose, but just the opportunity to play against somebody is worth doing the bet for.
Well, Bobby Riggs was the
Bobby Riggs,
greatest
excuse me.
tennis player and then court hustler of all time. In fact, when I was 14 years old, I read his book. It was called Court Hustler. And I was fascinated by it and the bets he made and how he played tennis. In fact, at the end of the book, it tells him how he got good in tennis is to never lose. Never lose a point, never give a point away. And I read that, and I went from a very bad junior player that used to be very sloppy on the court. I said, I'll do that. I'll just throw all the balls back in and run everything down, just like Bobby. I won't give him anything. And my ranking went up from nothing to like 30 in Southern Cal. So I learned from Bobby Riggs. I idolized him. Then he went on to beat Margaret Court, who was #1 in the world, then lose to Billie Jean a couple of years later at 58 years old. So I idolized him. And after, he lived for the action. I mean, but like I said, he would want much the best of it. And when you see that, and I love the guy so much and idolized him, that I would give him much the best of it. So I would lose a lot of money with him in golf, but it was worth it because you're having an experience.
That's the other thing. It's like you're losing money, but you don't regret it because you're having fun and you're getting something from the experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I kind of learned. And also, my father won my mother's engagement ring at a poker game in World War II. So maybe it's in the blood.
Get out of town. I know. That is awesome.
That's pretty insane. I know.
Wow. Oh man. So where was he serving at the time?
He was here.
Oh, okay.
He was a sergeant here in training.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
So, man. And so he wins.
Yeah.
So was he holding off? Was it once he had the engagement ring, he said, "All right, now I can propose"?
I don't know that, but my mom told me after we'd met. She goes, "Well, I didn't know that before." She goes, "Your father won my engagement ring in a poker game." I was like, "What?"
How am I just hearing about this now? That's
I know.
Did you know
great
that?
Lord.
My father lost my mother's
I did know that
ring
Your mother told me.
on a match race against Gallant Man. He bet. He said, "You got to give it to me." She's no, give it to me. Pawned it, got $2,000 for it back in the day. Bet it in a match race, Gallant Man versus another. Got beat by a nose. Now he did get it back. He did finally make some money on Broadway and, as an actor, and got it back and gave the ring back. But he did bet the diamond ring.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's got to be a tough one to come back to and say, honey.
She's made him pay for it over the years.
I'm sure. So making this film, I'm curious just in the actual production of it. So we've got the scenes that are taking place we do make fun of the San Fernando Valley. Nobody wants to come to the Valley. Oh, who wants to come to the Valley?
Yeah.
Did you actually shoot in the Valley?
Yeah, we did. We shot here in the Valley. And for years, we grew up in the Valley. We were originally in New York and then Sherman Oaks, Van Nuys. And for years, remember how bad the smog used to be in the 70s. You'd walk home from school and I couldn't breathe. You couldn't see not the other mountains, but on this side, you couldn't even see the hills. It was like a mile away. It was that bad. And so we put that in the film. That it's a running gag. No one from the other side of the hill, because they're kind of snobby, want to come to the Valley because the smog's bad. And there's also another rumor that there's deadly gases out here in the Valley. I've always heard that for 60 years. So we touch on that a little bit in the film.
Can't believe Ricky coming out here. He's showing deadly gases. Yes. For the walk to Vegas, though.
Yeah.
What was? Certainly you have the ease now instead of the original bet, where you're only really walking while the camera's rolling.
Yeah.
So it's like I can relax and stuff. But what was it like kind of recreating that?
Well, we were filming 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day. I was in a suit. By the way, that's one of the conditions. He has to walk to Vegas in a suit. But I must have walked 6-7 miles. In the scenes.
And there was a windstorm that you had to recreate.
Yeah, sure.
With a giant fan.
But here's
the
thing is, though, I didn't even feel it. I didn't feel anything. I mean, I was sweating so much, but because it's the thing you wrote and what your dream is right there, you don't even feel the tiredness. It's going
to be so interesting in 3 weeks once the movie comes out about who you are then. because you've just been so consumed by this.
Oh yeah, and then I did.
You're not that interested in that. Okay, well, let's just move on.
I did get the sciatica too. So during the end of the filming, I
Got the sciatica.
got the sciatica down the leg, and I couldn't even walk out of the dressing room. That's true. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point. What is it like going back to playing yourself back then? I mean, a version of yourself.
Yeah, it's a version of myself. A lot of it's fabricated. Easy. I mean, it's a piece of cake. I'm just playing the guy that had a poker game that was a gambler. That's,
It's him.
It's me and my brother. And so easy performance for me. Yeah.
Not so easy for me.
No?
No?
Well, I mean, you're combining two different...
Well, not just that. It was because I was really basically playing us. But because it's his movie, and he basically was my boss, and he was taking control of me on the set. You can't ad lib, and I try to just do what I do, and I don't want you to ad lib. And then he wanted to rehearse.
Let's tell the story
constantly.
properly. Yes, that's true. 5 weeks
He's
prior.
anal about it. Let's just run lines. I'm like, okay. So I would do it like a couple times, but he wants to do it every day, all day. I'm like, look, I can't do that. There's not going to be anything left in me for the real performance. And he's calling me a diva. I'm like, I just can't work like this. I can't run it. So he'd come after me. I'd be running the other way. I'm like, I'm not running this with you anymore. Seriously. And on set, he would like want to talk to me. I go, I can't talk to you. Can't talk to you. I would like avoid him. And then I would just like do it. Sometimes you just want to ad lib, and you have to say the line the way it's written. I was like, oh my God. It was like, Martin Scorsese over here.
We both work different ways. I do like to take a script way down and learn it and go play with it many different ways, but she doesn't. It turned out fine because we did have.
It turned out fine.
You're terrific in the movie. We were good. So there you go. You win.
Thank God.
Well, I mean, I guess that is when you're dealing with an indie film, tighter budgets, that you don't have that luxury for lots of rehearsal time. You'd love to get the cast in and run through everything. Right. So I guess the downfall is when you're married to the person that is responsible for this film, there's really no escape when it's like, hey, you're here. Why don't we just...
It's so true. But Jimmy, his brother, told me the same thing. He was always after him to run with Jimmy. Jimmy doesn't want to do it all the time either. It's true. It's a true story.
It's all true. It's all true.
It's easier for Jimmy to hide out, though. I'm sure it's like, I can just disappear. Yes,
exactly.
I said, Jimmy, we're 2 days away from shooting, man. You don't know the lines. You go, I know the lines. I'll get the lines down. Shut up. That's my brother. And he did. He got the lines down.
And you also bring in your son Jesse as well.
Right, a little bit, yeah.
Yes.
And he was actually, in real life, older than the part. So we had to shoot him from a different angle, and we grew his hair out long, so he would look a little younger. So it was really kind of funny just trying to make him look younger. So he has a little part in it. It's fun.
What was it like being able to kind of make it a family affair?
That's the glory and the why I would ever put anything together, is because I want to work with my family. I want to work with talented people.
I think it's risky. I think it's scary because when you say you have a lot of your family and people go, well, it's not that good. I don't know. But actually, everybody in the family's very talented, and it kind of worked out. Well, it's really super good, and we get to, I get to celebrate all of us there. His mom was in the movie. She had a little part during one of the Thanksgiving scenes. Yeah, but you cut her out. Okay. He cut his own mother out.
Oh, Vince.
Hey, this is sounding bad, honey. This is not good. They had no lines to begin with.
I know, but you saw the back of her head. It was cute.
Listen, part of the thing, fun is if you got something and you get it made, is to work with people you love and families that way, if they're talented and right for it. And
but you're also trying to make a good movie, so you have to be kind of brutal.
For sure.
Hence, we see some of the scenes get put on the cutting room
and
floor for it.
My mother-in-law's one of them.
Well, that's another thing, is that I knew we had to tighten at the very end, and I went, honey, we might tighten that little scene. She goes, look, do whatever you want. I don't care. She has no ego. She goes, I don't care. Just cut it. She goes, make your best movie. And that's
his
nice.
Film. It's his thing. I'm happy to be along for the ride, but it's his thing, so whatever works.
Well, what I like is earlier in your life, you got involved with the Palm Springs Film Festival. Yeah. Sonny Bono reaches out to you and says, hey, can you help me out with this? And you help him raise some money to get this going.
Was it you or was it your dad?
It was my dad, the first time they had the tennis tournament, and then it became...
Is that insane? The very first film festival with Dick Van Patten went out there and they did this whole thing.
And then we opened a film festival, and then we're just saving it for the theaters. Comes out September 20th in exclusive theaters nationwide. And then
talking too much.
iTunes, you can pre-buy it now on iTunes.
Just wanted to say something.
That's right. We're in the plug. We're in the plug zone right there.
We're in the plug zone, yeah. Yes. What are you going to say? What's more important than the plug, honey?
All right. You're so right. Nothing. Except that the 30th anniversary was when your film was shown there. Yeah. That's kind of crazy. It came full circle.
Getting back to the plug.
No time for sentimentality. We got to plug this movie.
I'm telling you, brutal.
That's true.
Hey, no,
Buy
thank
it
you for
on
having us here.
iTunes. Pre-order it on iTunes. Pre-order it on iTunes.
Or exclusive theaters, or at the Lemleys in Beverly Hills.
Or you could pre-buy it on iTunes. Pre-order it.
And okay, that's that.
So, after Eileen said, twisted your arm, said, "Hey, you've got to bring the story to life." Do you want to jump back into the waters again and do another film, or you're like, "That was good. I think I'm ready to take a step back for a while."
Well, what's exciting, we have a couple of people that said, "Hey, this would make a great series. Would you be interested in doing that?" I said, "Yes, let's talk." So that's in the works right now, and maybe do a second one. I don't know, but the first one, it's been a 5-year process, so we're just moving ahead with all the marketing, seeing how it does. Hopefully people enjoy it, and it's a little slice of life and fun about fun characters, and then we'll see where it goes. Yeah.
So if he says, Eileen, this is going to be a series, now are you going to say, well, of course, I'm ready for this series work?
Well, I'm open.
Yes.
Let's see what happens.
There you go. Or it's going to be a rigorous audition process again. Yes. So as we're getting ready to wrap up, we've plugged this film, but I feel like you can never plug this film too much.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, that's so
right.
kind of
Yes.
you.
So it's coming out in theater September 20th, and it will be available. You can pre-order it on iTunes. Coming out September 24th. I don't know if you knew this,
Tell me
Eileen.
about that,
Yeah.
Frank.
Well, if you go to iTunes, the film
You
is
can
right there.
pre-order it.
You can pre-order it, so that when September 24th, when you wake up in the morning, and it's right there
awesome.
waiting for you there on your Apple TV.
Yeah, it's like a Christmas present.
Absolutely. Look at that. Christmas comes early in September.
Yay.
Very nice. So, folks, if you want to stay in, go see the film. It's delightful. I got a chance to see it, and it was a really fun romp. And as well as to see a side of life that I've never gotten involved in, and I don't know if I want to, because I don't know if I can make that
Oh,
walk
you
in 7
do.
days.
You
I
really
wanna get
do.
I guess you got to do it with the right people. All right, guys, I'm coming over to do some prop bets with you guys.
Okay.
Practice your quarter toss.
Yes, that's true. I got to get my quarters. We're heading to Venice, playing quarters. But if they want to stay in touch with either of you folks, in terms of whatever projects you're working on, or if it's 7 days into Vegas, Eileen, where's the best place to find you?
At Eileen, I can't even say my own name now. At Eileen Davidson Official.
Oh, all right.
And we're also plugging on clubwpt.com,
Yeah,
where they've
the
had some
WPT's
sweepstakes.
helped producing this movie
World
too.
Poker Tours help produce, and so I do that show. And
You're at
go to
Vince
7
VP.
Days to Vegas.
What's
and
your
I'm
handle
I don't
on
know.
Twitter?
I'm on Twitter too. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. What
I
is
know
it?
the Twitter thing.
At Vince VP. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Obviously not very well.
So we're on this Twitterverse there, yes. Folks, you can follow
Google
me.
it.
Yeah, Google it. It'll show up. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. Folks, that's going to do it for this
adorable.
episode of iTalk Films. Go see 7 Days to Vegas in theaters September 20th, or pre-order it on iTunes. September 24th. We'll see you next time here on iTalk Movies.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.